My dad said he'd disown me if I don't have children. I'm 70% sure I don't want kids, and now I feel completely trapped. Any suggestions? Background: 30F, East Asian. I've lived in the US for the past 10 years after moving here alone at 20. My parents still live in my home country, and they've always had very strict expectations of me growing up. They're both teachers, emotionally distant, always busy, but highly demanding. I was hit as a child, and though there was no outright abuse by their cultural standards, I grew up emotionally neglected, always being told I wasn't enough. We've never been close, but in recent years, we've both tried, in our own imperfect ways, to rebuild the relationship. Situation: my dad told me last night that if I don't have children, he will cut me off completely, emotionally and relationally. That if I choose not to continue the family line, I'm no longer his daughter. My thoughts and feelings. What hurts most is not just the threat, it's the fact that this feels like a forced choice. Even if I someday did want a child, I'd feel like I was doing it under pressure, like I'm surrendering my life to win their approval. And that scares me, because if they learn that threatening me works, that they can use love and family ties to control my life, what's to stop them from doing it again? It's as if they're not just trying to persuade me to have kids, they're trying to own the choice. I'm about 70% sure I don't want children, because I know what kind of parent I'd like to be: responsible, emotionally present, and supportive. And I'm not sure if I can give a child that. Raising a kid is a 20-plus year commitment of energy, time, and financial sacrifice. As a woman, there are added fears. I'm scared of the pain of childbirth. I'm scared of how it will change my body, even though I work out and try to take care of myself. I'm scared of disappearing into a role, from being someone's daughter to someone's mother, and never really being me again. There's something else that haunts me. If I do cut off my parents, that door will likely close forever. As flawed as our relationship is, part of me still wants to believe there's a chance for a healthy parent-child bond someday. But if I walk away now, I might lose that chance for good. I'm also terrified that future partners might judge me for it. What if someone I love thinks, if she could cut off her own parents, she might do the same to me someday? What if, by being without family, I end up vulnerable, and my partner uses that power imbalance against me, siding with his family and isolating me? I feel like I'm standing in the middle of a minefield, where every step, whether toward children, away from children, toward my parents, or away from them, could blow something up. If you've read this far, thank you. I'm not looking for judgment, just your thoughts or experiences if you faced anything like this. How did you make peace with your decision? How do you know when you're choosing something for yourself, versus giving in to someone else's version of your life? Update. Thank you for your kindness. I've been thinking, reading, crying, and reflecting. Here's more of my story. It's been about a day since I posted, and I want to start by saying, thank you, truly. I wasn't expecting the amount of support, insight, and emotional generosity this community has shown. Your replies helped me crawl out of the emotional pit much faster than I usually do, and gave me the clarity to start calmly evaluating the different suggestions and perspectives you offered. I've read 353 of the comments so far. I wish I could reply to each one, but I'll try to answer some of the most asked questions here. Question: why is your relationship with your parents so strained? A. There's a long history. My dad was raised by a very authoritarian father, my grandfather, who would beat him harshly and expect blind obedience. My dad internalized that model and passed it on to me. I'm the only daughter in the family, but I was supposed to have 3 older brothers, all aborted. Maybe that's part of why my dad raised me with intense expectations and little affection. I was a mischievous, strong-willed kid, and my grades didn't meet his standards. So I was punished. I know what it's like to have bruises so deep that you can't sit or stand without pain. I know what it's like to be slapped so hard that your nose bleeds. I know the dizziness that comes after your head hits something. I know what it's like to kneel on the street in shame while strangers look on. I know what it feels like to be thrown out of the house wearing nothing but a t-shirt and underwear. I know what it feels like to have secrets used against you. And for a long time, I thought death would be the only way out of the place I was supposed to call home. In high school, I chose to live in the dorms, even though home was just a 30-minute drive away, just to avoid being there. The dorm had no washing machine, so I hand-washed my clothes every week. That seemed like a fair price for some peace. In college, things improved financially, and my dad suggested I study abroad. I never thought that would even be a possibility, but I said yes, because it meant distance. Question: how often do you talk to your parents now? A. Since moving abroad, I usually talk to them maybe once a month. Sometimes I go 2 or 3 months without contact. But in the last 2 years, we've all been trying to rebuild the relationship, so the communication has become more frequent. That said, the dynamic hasn't changed much. In every video call, my dad dominates the conversation, just as he always does. He can speak non-stop for 2 to 3 hours. He complains I don't respond, that I just say or okay. But the truth is, he rarely allows space for others to speak unless he asks a question. I've often responded to him, just not out loud. Another layer to this is that my father and I have always struggled to truly see and be seen by each other. We've rarely been able to express our most authentic thoughts without distortion of defense. There's a phrase in Chinese that haunts me: father does not know his son does not know his father. What a quiet, lifelong sorrow that is, two people living in the same bloodline, yet emotionally worlds apart. Question: why do your parents want you to have children? I asked them this directly. My dad said, having children is about carrying on the bloodline. It gives life long-term meaning. Raising a child is joyful. There are government subsidies for families with children. It's an advantage when most people aren't having kids. You're capable of raising a good child, and if you don't, you'll leave nothing behind. That's foolish. Many people who say they don't want kids end up regretting it and ruin their marriages trying to fix it too late. I don't find these arguments compelling. If carrying on the family line is so important, then technically our line already ends with his generation. He and his siblings had 4 daughters and no sons. FYI, in traditional East Asian culture, daughters are often excluded from family lineage records, the Zupu. Without a son, it's considered the end of the family line. I suspect that plays a bigger role in my father's anxiety than he even realizes or is willing to admit. The idea of ending with me probably terrifies him in a way he's never put into words. If it's about subsidies, sure, that helps ease financial pressure, but I don't think anyone should have a child solely because of subsidies. And if someone is in a situation where that's a major motivator, maybe they're not in a financially stable place to raise a child in the first place. If having children becomes an advantage in an aging society, then that advantage primarily goes to the child, not the parents. That child will also carry the heavy burden of economic productivity and caring for the elderly in a shrinking population. I asked my mom why she wants me to have a child. She said she and my father would help take care of the baby. But I believe raising a child, emotionally, morally, mentally, is something only the parents can truly do. The rest is just support, not parenting. I told her I'm afraid of pain. I am, genuinely. She told me there are painless delivery methods now, that I probably wouldn't need surgery, and that recovery is faster than before. But pregnancy is still 10 months of discomfort and long-term changes to my body. As someone who has to take painkillers just to function during the first 2 days of my period, I can't imagine what childbirth would do to me. She said, all women go through it. You'll be fine. But she doesn't even know I'm afraid of pain. I asked her, if you were me, with my body, my personality, my circumstances, would you still choose to have a child? She said, why not? You are young, healthy, and smart. You have supportive parents and government benefits. Your conditions are much better than mine when I had you. She was confused when I said I'm 70% sure I don't want kids. But you used to say you were 70% wanting kids, she said. You even discussed education plans with me. I froze. I realized that in her mind, I had flipped. But the truth is, I've always said 70% not wanting kids. She simply heard what she wanted to hear. And that made me realize, people don't always misunderstand us. Sometimes, they just choose not to understand. And I've done that too, at times. Question on my grandfather, my father, and intergenerational regret. I remember that while my grandfather was strict and even cruel to his children, he was gentle and loving to his granddaughters. Maybe my father, like his own father, now carries regret about how he raised his child, and wants to make it right through a grandchild. But he's a proud man. Apologizing directly may never be an option he feels comfortable with. So instead, he tried to fill that void by looking forward, to my potential child, to a second chance at tenderness. But to me, that's a kind of emotional bypass, a way to avoid looking directly at the pain. Yes, a good grandparent-grandchild relationship can soften a family's edges, but it doesn't fix the unspoken rift between parent and child. And what isn't acknowledged, can't be truly repaired. Question: why not just cut them off and change your last name? Some people suggested this. And I understand the sentiment. But I won't change my surname. It's part of my story. It carries not only the pain of my parents but the strength of the others who came before them. My family includes war heroes, scholars, educators, and people who stood for things greater than themselves. I carry them with pride. Whatever grievances I have, they are directed at certain people and certain actions, not at the entirety of my ancestry. As for cutting ties, I don't believe it's my choice to make first. My choice is to speak clearly, to establish boundaries, and to state firmly. Whether or not I have a child is 100% my decision. You can advise me, but you cannot choose for me. If they cannot accept that, if they refuse to respect that line, then they will be choosing to push me away, and I will respect that choice by stepping back. And ultimately, I see this as a crucial turning point, not just about whether or not I have a child, but about something much deeper. This is a chance to practice protecting my boundaries. To say no when I must. To define myself not by who I please, but by who I am. And maybe this won't be the last time I have to do it. In future intimate partnerships and life decisions, I may face similar pressures or misunderstandings. And if so, this moment will have been a difficult, but valuable, training ground. Where I'm at now. Emotionally, these past couple of days have been hard. My eyes have been sore from crying. But now that I've calmed down, I actually feel grateful this rupture happened sooner rather than later. I realized my pain comes less from the question of whether to have children, and more from the longing for a safe, loving family, something I never really had growing up. But it's incredibly difficult to change people, and that dream may always be just out of reach. There's a Buddhist teaching that life includes 8 kinds of suffering: birth, aging, sickness, death, being apart from those we love, being close to those we dislike, not getting what we want, and the burden of existence itself. Right now, I'm experiencing the frustration of not getting what I want. And maybe, when I can no longer seek it outward, from others, from my family, from imagined futures, it's time to turn inward. I'm starting to believe it matters less whether my parents love me unconditionally. What matters more is this. I love myself. I am the first and the last person to do so, unconditionally, no matter what. Thank you for reading. Thank you for witnessing. Redheart, you've helped me feel less alone, and that, in itself, is a kind of healing.